"Don't embarrass me tonight," Ethan said, not looking at her. Amara stood beside him, dressed in silk, feeling invisible. The cameras loved him, the headlines mocked her name again. Gold digger. They whispered, like she couldn't hear them. But she didn't react, not even a blink, not once. Because Amara Hayes was never just the woman he married. 10 days into the marriage, the numbers started breaking. His company lost $2 million overnight, systems glitching, accounts freezing without warning. Executives panicked, lawyers circled, and Ethan blamed the staff. Amara said nothing, just watched the screens from the hallway. That night, she walked into his office uninvited. 8 minutes later, the system was restored, every dollar traced. No one saw her work, but everyone felt the result. Ethan didn't thank her, didn't even ask how. He just assumed control had returned to him. But the next morning, the board asked one question. Who fixed this? Silence filled the room like pressure. Ethan hesitated, just for a second too long. Because deep down, he already knew the answer. And so did she. That was the moment he realized something was off. Not about the company, but about her. That same night, Amara stood in front of a locked door. The one hallway no one used. The one rule no one explained. She reached for the handle slowly, breath steady, eyes clear. And for the first time since the wedding, she made a choice she couldn't take back. The door opened 3 inches, then stopped like it resisted her. A soft sound slipped through, not from a machine. It sounded small, human, and completely out of place. Amara did not step back, but she did not enter. The next morning, everything started breaking again. 3 accounts froze without warning across 2 departments. A client pulled a contract worth $12 million. The legal team flagged irregular activity in archived files. Ethan slammed his hand on the conference table, demanding answers. No one had any, not even his top engineers. His assistant spoke carefully, choosing every word with care. "Sir, this pattern, it only stopped last week." Ethan frowned, already knowing what she meant. He did not say her name, but it filled the room. By noon, the board scheduled an emergency review. By 2 o'clock, 2 senior executives quietly resigned. By 4, a competitor announced a suspiciously similar strategy. Ethan stood in his office, staring at the screens. Numbers moved, but none of them made sense anymore. For the first time, control felt like an illusion. He checked the hallway cameras from the night before. Footage showed Amara standing at the locked door. Then nothing, just a sudden static flicker. The system glitched at the exact second she touched it. His security head entered, voice low but urgent. "Sir, we found something she corrected last week." Ethan turned slowly, jaw tight, eyes sharper now. "She prevented a breach we never detected." Silence followed, heavy and undeniable. Ethan looked back at the frozen screen again. The timeline no longer matched his understanding. Not of the company, and not of her. He stepped toward the locked hallway himself this time. The air felt different, like something had shifted overnight. And for the first time, he asked the question he avoided. If she was not who he thought she was, then what exactly had he just lost? And who else was about to find her first? The invitation arrived on thick cream paper, delivered by hand. Amara read it once, then folded it without expression. A private strategy summit in downtown Chicago. The kind of room she used to be excluded from. She walked in alone, no assistant, no introduction. Conversations softened when she crossed the room. Not out of judgment this time, but curiosity. A senior partner paused mid-sentence, watching her carefully. "You are Amara Hayes," he said, almost confirming it. She nodded once, calm, measured, unshaken. He turned to the others, voice shifting with respect. "She is the one who rerouted the breach last quarter." Heads turned, chairs adjusted, space opened around her. No one mentioned gold digger now, not even quietly. A woman offered her a seat at the main table. Another asked for her opinion before the meeting began. Amara did not rush, did not perform, did not explain. She spoke once, 10 words, and the room listened fully. Within minutes, a flawed deal was pulled from the table. Within seconds, 3 executives changed their stance. The shift was subtle, but undeniable. She was no longer being tolerated, she was being followed. Across the city, Ethan stared at a different screen. Her name appeared in a meeting log he did not authorize. His assistant spoke again, softer this time. "Sir, multiple firms requested her presence this week." He did not respond, but his silence changed shape. Control was no longer centered where he believed. Back in the room, a quiet applause broke out. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Respect, not performance, not politics. Someone leaned closer, lowering their voice carefully. We have been trying to find you. Amara did not smile, but she did not refuse. For the first time, the world was moving toward her. Not because of him, but because of her. And somewhere between those shifting rooms and rising voices, one truth became harder to ignore. Others were beginning to see her value before he ever did. Ethan closed his laptop slowly, eyes fixed, breath tighter. Because the next invitation on her calendar was not private. It was public, and he would be there too. And this time, he would not be able to pretend he did not know her. The ballroom lights were brighter than he remembered. Every camera turned when Amara entered the room. Ethan saw her before anyone said her name. She was not standing beside him this time. She was walking ahead of everyone else. Conversations shifted, then stopped completely for a second. A senior investor stepped forward and greeted her first. Not him. Ms. Hayes, we have been waiting for you, he said. Ethan paused, just slightly, but it showed. No one had ever greeted someone before him like that. Amara nodded once, calm, composed, unchanged. She did not look at Ethan, not even by accident. The host adjusted the schedule without asking him. We will begin once Ms. Hayes is seated. Chairs moved. People stood. Space was made for her at the center table. Ethan remained standing longer than expected. A quiet imbalance settled into the room. He walked toward her, measured steps, controlled tone. You have been busy, he said, low and direct. Amara turned then, finally meeting his eyes. No hesitation. No reaction. I have been working, she replied, voice even. No explanation followed. Ethan studied her, searching for something familiar. He found nothing he could control. A junior executive approached, nervous but determined. Ms. Hayes, your model changed our entire risk outlook. Ethan looked at the man sharply, then back at her. She did not acknowledge the praise, only nodded once. The room adjusted again, this time permanently. Ethan felt it, even if no one said it aloud. He was no longer the center of gravity here. He stepped closer, lowering his voice further. You left without saying anything. Amara held his gaze, unblinking, steady. There was nothing left to say, she answered. Simple. Final. Ethan exhaled, slower now, less certain. For the first time, he was reacting and she was not. The difference was visible, undeniable. Someone behind them spoke quietly but clearly. We should follow her lead on this. Not him. Her. Ethan heard it, and so did everyone else. A shift, small but irreversible. He straightened, trying to reclaim ground already gone. We need to talk, he said, sharper now. Amara tilted her head slightly, almost considering it. Then she stepped past him, not around him. Through him. The space he once controlled did not stop her anymore. She moved toward the presentation screen, and the room followed her movement without question. Ethan turned, slower this time, watching something he could not stop. And as the first slide appeared behind her, one line caught his attention immediately. A timeline. Dates he recognized. Events he did not. His voice dropped, almost to himself. What is this? Amara did not turn back. The part you never saw, she said quietly. And for the first time, Ethan realized the truth was not behind him. It was about to unfold right in front of everyone. The room did not breathe when the slide changed. A red line cut through the timeline with precision. Dates aligned with losses no one could explain before. Amara stood still, one hand resting lightly on the table. 3 breaches, she said calmly. All prevented before they surfaced. A murmur spread, low and sharp. Ethan stepped forward, voice controlled but tighter now. Those incidents were internal anomalies, he said. Amara did not look at him. No, she replied. They were targeted entries. The next slide appeared without her touching anything. A senior analyst leaned forward, eyes wide. This matches external attack patterns. Ethan turned, sharper now. Who authorized this data release? No one answered him. No one even looked at him. Instead, all eyes stayed on her. Amara tapped once on the screen. A list of transactions appeared, flagged and traced. $47 million, she said. Recovered before execution. Silence hit harder this time. One of Ethan's board members stood halfway from his seat. We never saw this report. Amara nodded slightly. You were not meant to. The weight of that answer settled across the room. Ethan felt it land on him last. His control slipped, not loudly, but visibly. You had no authority to intercept company operations, he said. Amara turned then, finally facing him fully. Her expression did not change. I did not need your authority, she said. The sentence was quiet, but it did not leave space for response. A shift moved through the room again, deeper now. Someone from the legal team spoke carefully. If this is accurate, she prevented federal violations. Another voice followed. And regulatory shutdown. Ethan's jaw tightened. This was no longer about perception. This was structural. He looked at the board, expecting alignment. Instead, he saw hesitation. Then distance. The chairman cleared his throat slowly. Ms. Hayes, he said, choosing each word with care. Would you be willing to walk us through the full scope? Ethan felt it immediately. Not a request to him. Not even a glance in his direction. Amara held the room without raising her voice. You are not asking the right question, she said. A pause. Controlled. Intentional. The real question is why these attacks started at all. The air shifted again, colder now. Ethan stepped back without realizing it. The ground beneath his certainty felt thinner. What are you implying? He asked. For the first time, there was a trace of something in his voice. Not anger. Not control. Something closer to doubt. Amara turned back to the screen. A new file appeared. Older. Buried deeper. This, she said, is where it began. The room leaned forward as one. Names started to load across the screen. Not external threats. Internal access points. Ethan's name did not appear. Not yet. But the pattern moved closer. Too close. And as the next line began to reveal itself, Ethan realized something far worse than losing control. He realized the truth was not just about to expose the system. It was about to expose everything he thought he understood about her. The next name did not load fully, but the pattern was enough. Ethan leaned forward, eyes narrowing, trying to reconnect what he saw with what he believed. These timestamps, he said slowly, they match our expansion phase. Amara did not respond immediately. She let the silence stretch just enough. Then she moved one step closer to the screen. They match your fastest growth period, she corrected. The room shifted again, quieter this time, more focused. A senior analyst stood, flipping through archived reports on his tablet. His voice came out lower than before. Those quarters, we outperformed every projection. Ethan nodded once, almost instinctively. Because we executed better than anyone else. Amara turned her head slightly, just enough to look at him. No, she said. Because you were not being attacked anymore. The words landed differently this time. Not as accusation. As correction. The analyst looked up again, now fully engaged. Wait. The breach attempt stopped exactly during that period. Another voice joined, sharper now, and resumed after she left internal oversight. Ethan's breath slowed, but his thoughts did not. He stepped back toward the table, pulling up older files himself. Reports he had signed. Strategies he had approved. Wins he had claimed. Each one now sat under a different light. Amara tapped once again. A new layer appeared over the timeline. Invisible actions. Silent interventions. Every success he remembered had a shadow beside it. You stabilized the system, he said, but it sounded less like a statement now. Amara shook her head slightly. I prevented collapse, she replied. The distinction was small, but it changed everything. A legal advisor spoke next, voice careful but firm. If her interventions had not occurred, these breaches would have triggered audits. Another added, which would have frozen operations for months. Ethan looked at the projections on the screen, then back at the board. For the first time, no one looked to him for confirmation. They were looking at her. Or worse, at the data that proved her. His confidence did not shatter. It shifted into something less stable. Something uncertain. He remembered the nights he thought he was winning. The calls he ended with quiet satisfaction. The belief that he was always one step ahead. Now those memories felt incomplete. Rewritten without his permission. Why did you not tell me? He asked, but the question lacked authority now. It carried something else. Something closer to doubt. Amara held his gaze, steady, unchanged. You never asked the right questions, she said. The room absorbed that answer without resistance. Because it fit too well. Ethan looked down at the table, then back at the screen. The numbers, the dates, the outcomes. None of them belonged to him in the way he thought. Not fully. Not even mostly. And then the analyst spoke again, slower this time. There is one more layer here. The screen shifted once more. A deeper file. Older than the company's current structure. Ethan's name still did not appear, but the origin point did. And as the first line of that origin began to reveal itself, Ethan realized the past he trusted was about to change completely. And this time, he would not be able to stay silent. The room had not settled when Ethan moved. He did not wait for the board. He did not wait for protocol. He stepped toward her, faster than before, voice lower but urgent. Amara, we need to talk. Now. Heads turned again, but this time not toward him. Toward her. Amara did not move immediately. She closed the file on the screen with a single tap. Calm. Measured. Final. Then she turned, not toward him, but toward the exit. Ethan followed, breaking pace, closing distance. You should have told me, he said, sharper now. You let me believe. She stopped walking. Not because of him. Because she chose to. Slowly, she turned to face him in the corridor. No audience. No applause. Just space and silence. You believed what you needed to believe, she said. Her tone did not rise. It did not soften. It stayed exact. Ethan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. The first visible crack in control. I built that company, he said, but the sentence landed weaker now. Amara held his gaze, steady, unshaken. You stood on it, she replied. The difference settled between them, sharp and clean. Ethan stepped closer, searching her face for something familiar. Then let me fix this, he said quickly. We can restructure, adjust roles, bring you back in. The offer came too fast, too eager, not strategic, emotional. Amara did not step back. She did not lean in. She simply stayed where she was. You are still negotiating like I belong inside your system, she said. A pause. Then softer, but firmer. I do not. The words did not echo. They anchored. Ethan felt it immediately. The distance was no longer physical. It was structural. He tried again, slower now. I did not know, he said. It sounded closer to truth than anything before. Amara nodded once. Not agreement. Acknowledgement. You did not look, she answered. Silence stretched longer this time. Uncomfortable. Unavoidable. Behind them, footsteps approached. Two board members stopped near Amara, not interrupting, but waiting. One of them spoke carefully. Ms. Hayes, the committee is ready when you are. Not when he was. When she was. Ethan glanced at them, then back at her. The shift was complete. Not just in the room. In the system. You are leaving? He asked, but the question lacked control now. It carried something closer to urgency. Amara reached into her bag slowly. She pulled out a thin document. Not rushed. Not dramatic. She handed it to one of the board members without looking at Ethan. I am finalizing my position, she said. Ethan's eyes dropped to the document for half a second. Enough to recognize the format. Enough to understand the implication. Amara, he said, stepping forward again, voice tighter now. She did not move. You do not get to decide my position anymore, she said quietly. The sentence did not rise. It did not need to. It ended something. Completely. The board member accepted the document without hesitation. Another sign. Another shift. Ethan stood still now, for the first time not moving at all. The space between them no longer belonged to him. And as Amara turned away, walking back toward the room that now waited for her, Ethan realized something far heavier than loss. He realized that whatever decision she had just set in motion, he would not be able to stop it, change it, or even fully understand it until it was already done. The room had emptied, but he did not leave. Ethan stood near the window, staring at the city without seeing it. When the door opened again, he turned immediately. Amara stepped inside, calm, composed, already finished with everything that had just happened. We need to talk, he said, but the words carried no authority now. Amara walked a few steps in, then stopped. Not close, not distant, just enough space to end something properly. You already said everything, she replied. Ethan shook his head, stepping forward once. No, I did not understand before, he said, voice lower, uneven. I thought I built something. I thought you were just part of it. Amara watched him quietly. No anger, no softness, just clarity. You did build something, she said. You just did not see what was holding it up. The truth settled between them without resistance. Ethan exhaled slowly, the weight finally reaching him. Then let me say it now, he continued. I was wrong about you. Amara did not respond right away. She let the silence hold him there. You were not wrong about me, she said. You chose not to see me. The distinction landed deeper than any accusation. Ethan looked down briefly, then back at her. "Does that change anything now?" he asked. The question was simple. Honest. Too late. Amara shook her head once. "No," she said. No hesitation. No doubt. Ethan stepped closer, not aggressively, but with something he could not control anymore. "There has to be something left," he said. "After everything, after what I know now." Amara met his eyes fully. "What you know now does not change what you did then," she said. Her voice remained steady, unshaken, final. Ethan's expression shifted, not into anger, but into something heavier. Understanding. Loss. "So that is it," he said quietly. "There is no way back." Amara held his gaze for a moment longer. Then she answered in the simplest way possible. "There is no back," she said. The sentence ended the past completely. No negotiation. No reopening. Just truth. Ethan stood still, absorbing it fully this time. Not resisting. Not correcting. Just understanding what was gone. Not the marriage. Not the image. Something far more permanent. Amara turned slightly, preparing to leave. Then she paused, just once. "You asked what you lost," she said without looking at him. Ethan did not move. "You lost the one person who made sure you never failed," she finished. The words did not rise. They settled. Final and complete. Ethan closed his eyes briefly, the realization now fully formed. There was nothing left to argue. Nothing left to fix. Only the truth he had arrived at too late. Amara walked toward the door without hesitation. No rush. No regret. Just forward. And as her hand reached the handle, Ethan finally understood something he could not change. She was not leaving him. She had already left him long before this moment. The door opened quietly, and for the first time, he did not follow. 6 months later, her name carried weight before she entered rooms. Amara Hayes no longer waited to be invited or approved. She built her own firm quietly, steadily, without spectacle. Clients came to her without introductions, without persuasion. They trusted results they could not ignore. In meetings, people listened before she finished speaking. Not because she demanded it, but because she had already proven enough. Her work moved markets in ways that did not need headlines. Her presence no longer explained itself. It simply existed, complete and unchallenged. She did not check his name anymore. Not in articles. Not in reports. Not in memory. Whatever he had been to her had already lost its shape. Not replaced. Just removed. One afternoon, she stood by a window overlooking the city. The same skyline. The same height. But everything felt different now. No pressure. No performance. No need to hold anything together. Behind her, a team discussed strategy she no longer needed to correct. They moved with the system she had built. Without her constant watch. That was the difference now. She did not have to prevent collapse anymore. She had created stability. Across the city, Ethan sat in a room that felt larger than before. Not because it changed. Because something inside it was missing. The screen still worked. The numbers still moved. But they no longer aligned the same way. Decisions took longer. Outcomes felt uncertain. He reviewed reports he once signed without hesitation. Now he paused at every line. Not because the data changed. Because his understanding had. He did not say her name out loud anymore. But it stayed present in every silence. In every delay. In every outcome that did not match expectation. One evening, he walked past the same hallway in his home. The door was still there. Closed. Unchanged. He stopped for a moment, hand near the handle. Then lowered it. Not because he could not open it. Because it no longer mattered what was behind it. The truth had already moved beyond that space. He stood there quietly, understanding something final. He had not lost control in a single moment. He had been losing it the entire time without seeing it. And by the time he understood what she had been, she no longer needed to be seen by him at all.